Welcome back to the Honest Art Podcast. I'm your host, Jody King, and this is a very special edition, and it's a very special day that this podcast is coming out. So if you celebrate Christmas, I say Merry Christmas and just Happy Holidays in general. This week's podcast is going to be talking about what happened for me. Just kind of a breakdown of what I've learned, which was a lot more than I anticipated in 2024. But one of the things that I not only learned, but have come to appreciate more and more, and that is you and this community that we've created. I so appreciate you for listening consistently. I appreciate you just being part of my world. I will tell you, this community we have is, we are slightly rebellious, which I love. We are playful. We are kind. You know, in general, we are just an amazing community. And just from my heart to yours, I just want to say thank you so, so much for being a part of my world. So right now, as this podcast comes out, I'm spending time with my daughters. I'm also spending time with dear, dear friends that I've known for 30 years, who have now been part of my family. So it's a good time. It's a good time. But if you are spending the holidays alone, I just want to tell you that I love you, and you are so, so loved. All right, now let's get into what I learned in 2024. Are you ready? Let's get really messy. Okay, so I found this quote. Well, actually, I've always known this quote. It's one of my favorite quotes, but I thought this quote from Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities, I thought this quote really summed up my 2024, so I'm going to read it so I don't screw it up, but you'll remember this. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, and it was the epoch of incredulity. I had to look up what that meant, but here's what it means. The state of being unwilling or unable to believe something. So it was the epoch of belief, and it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, and it was the season of darkness. So there you have it. That's the end of the show, people. No, but that is definitely a great way to sum up my 2024. I can tell you this with 100% certainty. The woman, me, Jody, who entered 2024 in January is unrecognizable almost as the woman that I am leaving 2024 with. And man, did I meet so many different versions of myself this year. I met, the optimist. I met angry girl. I met that child, that little girl who just, wanted with everything just to be protected and to feel safe. I met the rebellious teenager who just wanted to, screw around. I met all of those this year, and I'm kind of grateful for it. I'm going to go through and tell you some of what I call my learning moments, the hard things. I'll go through some of those, and then I'll tell you some of my the highlights. But what I can tell you, like when I was preparing for this podcast and I was going through all of it, one thing is for sure, it is that although it didn't feel like it in the moment, every single hard thing was for my highest good. Again, it didn't feel like it in the moment. It felt like, it just completely sucked. It felt in many cases devastating. But I do know that everything was for my highest and best good. And maybe that's helpful to you right now if you're going through a rough time as well. I do believe that spirit, the universe, God, however you want to call it, him or her, I do believe that everything is happening for us and not against us. So let me tell you what theme I came up with for myself. So The theme that kept coming up over and over and over for me was self-worth. Like time after time, I was presented with opportunities, we'll call them, with opportunities to really look at where was I getting my worth from, and was I honoring myself in these circumstances. So what I learned is I just learned to have more self-worth, that it's non-negotiable. And there were several scenarios that did this. Now, the first part of the year, I will say, like January to June, it was rough. It was really, really, really rough for me. The beginning part of the year, like in March, I was faced with a serious financial situation in regards to taxes that it took a bit to unravel and figure out, but that was really, really challenging for me because, like this is art is my life. That's my business. And we're just like artists are just like anybody else who's running a business. Sometimes we get hit with financial challenges. And that really made me look at myself and ask myself, what is it I truly believe? What is it that I believe is possible for me, especially in this financial situation? What was I going to do about this? And all of it had to do with my mindset and my belief system. So, wow, it continues to be something that I'm dealing with. But again, as I look at it, I think that it really was a blessing because nothing will make you stop in your tracks like, holy shit, am I going to be able to continue to have my house and, various other things. So that was a little bit of something. And then another thing for many of you who've been following me for years, that I was writing a memoir for years. I talked about it often. I talked about how difficult it was. Like I said, I spent 2 years writing it. It was an incredibly difficult process, but at the same time, it was a very much an empowering process. And as I was writing it, I really was hoping that my story was going to really help some other people who may have gone through similar things. And the way what I chose to do with my situations, many situations. But then, again, the first part of the year, I made the decision with, people that I'm very, very close to. I made the decision to not publish the book, at least not right now. And that was, it may not seem like a big deal, but for those of you who have put so much of your soul into, really, this was like a life work project. For somebody who's put so much of their soul into something so creatively, and then to just, I had all these visions of what I thought it was going to be. My team and I had planned out an entire strategy. We had been working on it for months and months, and then to make the decision to not move forward with it was one of the hardest decisions I made in a really long time. And it was pretty devastating for me. Now, in hindsight, though, it was absolutely the right decision. I mean, I knew it was the right decision at the time. I hoped it was the right decision at the time. But in hindsight, I am 100% positive that it was the best decision for me and for the people that I love. And I'm so grateful that I have people around me who can tell me things that might be hard to hear. And they're just so freaking wise, so wise. So I'm really grateful it happened. Hopefully it will be published one of these days. But for right now, there's a whole nother book in the works. So there's that. That happened. Then, and again, we're still in the first 6 months of the year. I had 2 men on 2 completely separate situations. They challenged me in my business. And when I say they challenged me, one person tried to bully me into a trademark of a term that I created. And so that was something. So, as a woman that, again, I think I was telling you, what is my self-worth? Like this, I had to rise up and just be like, not today. And it caused me to just step into myself in a whole different way when somebody, especially a man, comes at me challenging me for something that I created. And then the second man actually was somebody who asked to work with me on something. He came to me, and then we had worked together for, I don't know, about a month, maybe longer. We were kind of all set to go. And then when he found out which is how, I don't know how he didn't know, honestly, when he found out the price, for me, I'm trying to be very discreet. He tried telling me that I was not worth that. And so again, both of these situations, right? Well, first of all, neither of those men won. That's the important thing, right? But when I say win, what I mean is I won both of those situations financially, but also both of those situations were so good for me because I had to step up and be like, not today. So we can talk about that all the time, or I can talk about that all the time. But when you're actually faced with situations where you're literally being challenged on it and to say, that, in hindsight, that feels really, really good. At the time, though, it felt really, really bad, and it brought up a lot of things for me. Brought up feelings of feeling unsafe. It brought up feelings of being told I was lying. I was all of these childhood stuff came up, and then adult Jody, little Jody was hurt for a minute, and then adult Jody stepped in. I'm I got this. So that was really, really empowering. And then, again, we're talking about kind of the rough parts of 2024 before we get into the highlights. My dating life. I mean, here I am. I'm still single at the end of 2024, but it wasn't for lack of trying. Dating in your 50s, people, if you're out there dating in your 50s, it is a whole new world. When I was dating in my early 20s I was married in my early 20s. Anyway, when I was dating at other times of my life, it wasn't like this. It was totally different. And when I actually believe the best in people. And yes, I can be a little delusional for sure, but I had several different scenarios that tested my boundaries. I had one scenario that I dated this guy. I really liked him a lot. We dated for 4.5 months, something like that. But from the beginning, this man said, I don't want a commitment. And what did I think? What did I hear? Oh, that'll change. What the hell? This is on me, right? This is totally on me. So taught me a lot about when somebody, not only shows you who they are, but actually tells you exactly what they don't want. I have to listen to that. So a lot of things that I learned. I also learned that men can be really, really terrible. And I met a guy, went on a date with him, and it was for me 3 hours of fearing for my safety. It was so traumatic, so disturbing, to the point where I had to have somebody come and stay with me for several days afterwards because I was so rattled and so shaken up, and it sent me back into PTSD. Good news is I'm back in therapy. So that's kind of the win out of that. But man, it like dating stuff, that was rough. Now, again, there was a third guy that, again, nice guy, great guy. But now when that one came along, I was able to identify immediately, great guy, not the guy, right? Was able to go, okay, this isn't for me. I deserve something different. I deserve something better. So, again, all of these things happened for me, not to me, but for me. And, again, the woman that started 2024 is not the same woman that is ending 24. And for that, I am grateful. The Honest Art Podcast is now on Patreon. And if you're like me, I didn't know what that was, but this is the good news. It's a private community platform, so you can get even more from the Honest Art Podcast. So exciting. So as little as $1 a month, you can get early access to episodes, and for a little bit more, just a few more bucks, you get things like behind the scenes shenanigans that I'm up to. You get connection within the community of Patreon. We get to do Q&As. It's just a little bit more intimate, and you get discounts. You get early access to workshops, all kind of things. So consider joining my Patreon community, and you can do that at the link in the show notes. So all of that was the first part of the year. And then, then there was the election, which I won't even go into that. But let's just say it took a toll on everyone. Certainly it took a toll on me. And so hopefully we will see, just like everything else that happened in 2024, we will see, and I will see that truly the universe is conspiring in our favor, and it is all for our highest and best good. So yeah, that's that on that. So now, can we get into some good stuff? Can we get into some of the highlights of the year? Because truly, there were so many, and I know it's really easy to think back on our lives, and the things that make the most like ingrained impact are also often negative things, because they just shock us so much. And so this was really fun to take a moment to make a conscious effort to say, okay, what were the highlights? What was the good stuff? So if you haven't done an inventory of your year, I really highly recommend it, because it's good to see. It's good to see the good stuff. So first and foremost, I want to say that I made some of the like greatest friendships that I have in a long time, and I deepened friendships that I already had, and that is so monumental for me, because for years I felt very alone, and I lacked friendships because of a number of different reasons. But so to have these friendships and these women that I am surrounded with, whether it's the women that I work with or the women I got to meet at workshops, or just here in Austin, I'm the most grateful for those things. And then also, my relationship with my daughters was deepened, and grateful for that. But specifically, I will start with Italy is always a highlight for me. And I think it's because when I go to Italy, I know you guys see all the workshop stuff, but I always like to combine a bit of mischievousness in those trips that I won't go into, but that little rebellious part of me comes out, and I always end up with a real good story at the end of my Italian trips, because I do extend the trip either before or after. So Italy was a major highlight for me this year. And also, what was another highlight is, I think because of all of these events that happened to me in the first part of the year, by July, I was doing art, and my art looked totally different than anything that I've ever done before, which is so, so exciting, especially because I liked it. I liked the direction it was going. I wasn't sure if it was going to be as accepted, but a gallery, the Ann Nielsen Gallery in Charlotte, liked the new work, and they are now representing me. So that was fun. That was a really wonderful highlight to see my work evolve, my creativity evolve because I was changing, and then to have it accepted was just the best, right? And then the other thing is I was able to teach 3 sold out workshops, and the women that took these workshops. Now, sometimes it's not women. Sometimes we have men in my workshops. But when I tell you the women in every one of these workshops were the best, the best. And that doesn't always happen. And for those of you who take workshops or host workshops, you know that there's usually kind of that one. And in all of them, there was not that one. So it was, oh my gosh, just met the most incredible artists. And if you are one of those artists that took a workshop from me, just know I'm so grateful for you. And it was such a delight to get to meet you and hug you and paint with you and laugh with you and cry with you and all of those things. So that was huge. It was really, really big. And then another highlight for me was in my program, Studio Elite. So that's my highest touch program, and it's last 6 months. So the program starts in January. So in January of 2024, there's a group of artists there that I got to meet. And then we got together in Austin for our retreat in April, and it was magic. It was so great. And then, and the reason I'm bringing this up, because we also do it again in the second half, and we had a new group that started in July, and we all met in September. And again, you never know what's going to happen. And when you're this, in this close of quarters, and you're spending pretty much every moment together, and you're being vulnerable, and you're sharing your dreams and your goals, like, it's a really big deal that the people around you, like, you feel really safe. And man, every single artist in Studio Elite was incredible, and I just think that's a big highlight for me. Again, if you're a part of a Studio Elite, just know I'm so grateful for you, and I've been blessed by getting to know you even more. And it's been so fun to see the artists and what they're doing, and how they're evolving, and how they're changing, and where they're going with all of the things that we learned together. Okay, another highlight. I hosted an art show in April with 2 incredible artists. It was so fun. Artist Anna Stapleton and Stephanie Moore. We got together. We had a big night at the South Congress Hotel. It was, we had spent months and months preparing for this. We had, my team was in here helping. Amy was helping to hang, and her mom was there doing flowers, and everybody had a part in it. It was so, so fun. So definitely that art show in April was a highlight. If you're waiting for somebody to offer you a spot in an exhibition, or waiting for somebody to offer you something to exhibit your work, might I suggest that you get together with a couple of artists who you adore and create your own show, because I think you'll have a blast. You'll sell some art. It'll be super fun. That's what happened in April when I hosted that show. And then, I think that this is super, super important. I felt like in 2024 that I have lived into my purpose more than ever. And it is my purpose to serve artists. If somebody said, what is it you do? And I feel like how I explain what I do is I help people become the truest, highest, most authentic version of themselves through the use of art and creativity. And it's a privilege and it's an honor to have this purpose. And this year, my team and I served more artists than ever through different things that we've done. And I know that as we move into 2025, we're going to be able to serve even more artists. And so I know there's a lot of people out there who maybe are searching for their purpose or don't know how to fully live into it. And I will just tell you, if you're being called to create, please do that, because I feel like through creativity, we can learn more and more about ourselves. Maybe it's not to have a huge art business. Maybe it has nothing to do with selling art at all, but just the act of creativity and creating helps us to discover more and more about what is meant for us, and also helps us to discover our voice. So that was a huge, huge highlight. And then lastly, I'll finish with something that's probably silly and may not mean that much to a lot of you, but every year, the first part of October here in Austin, there is a music festival called Austin City Limits Music Festival, and we call it our family reunion. It is when my daughters come in and they bring their friends who I love. I've come to love them over the years, and we all get together. We are all here in the house. We're eating. It's like some people are doing yoga, and we're stepping over some other people who are napping, and it's just the funnest weekend, and it's always one of the highlights of my year, and this year it was no exception. So that's it. Again, I want to reiterate that I'm not the same person today at the end of 2024 that I was at the beginning of 2024. I have so much more sense of self, so much more sense of self-worth. Hopefully I'm becoming a more compassionate, loving person as well. I certainly feel a tremendous amount of love and compassion for you. And I thank you so much for being a part of my journey, not just of 2024, but over the years. And so was 2024 rough? Yeah, it was rough. But was 2024 worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm moving into 2025 with delusional optimism, maybe, but a little delulu never hurt anybody. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and I'm sending you lots of love. Take good care. Peace out. If you are ready for a profound change in your art business, like for real, you're ready to soar, I highly suggest you get a mentor or find yourself a community. So that's what I did with Studio Elite. I love mentoring artists in my Studio Elite program. It's my highest touch program that I have. And we are accepting applications now for the 2025 program. We start in January. So if you feel like 2025 is your year, that it's time to put your stake in the ground and you're ready to go hard and to do this, I would be honored to work with you. Just look for the link in the show notes for the applications, and I would be honored, like I said, to work with you soon.